Have you ever believed your sports knowledge was strong enough to predict the outcome of a game? Maybe you've considered betting before, but really didn't know where to start. You've come across words like spread or money line and just felt so overwhelmed by it all. You're not the first, and surely won't be the last. But to help you better understand the simplest sports betting terminology, you've come to the right place. Welcome to Betting for Dummies. Let's start with a money line, one of the most common terms in the industry. In its basic form, when you bet a money line, you are betting on a team to win the game. Simple as that. What gets confusing is how the odds work, and for this case, we are going to use the American odds system. So let's take hockey as an example, and say for instance that Toronto is playing Ottawa. Your friend wants to bet $20 that the Maple Leafs will win. You agree to the wager, but want $40 if the Senators win because based on their record, one team is clearly better than the other. This would give the Senators an implied odds of plus 200 for their money line, where a $20 wager profits $40 with a win. In reverse, the Leafs would hold a minus 200 odds on their money line, where a $40 bet only profits $20 with a win. Now to understand American odds a little better, let's quickly break it down. When you see the odds with a plus in front of it, this signifies an underdog, where you will profit more money than what you put down. And therefore, a negative in front of the odds would then signify the opposite, and we call that a favorite. So for an underdog bet paying plus 160 odds, you move the normal decimal 2 spaces to the left and then multiply to reflect what your profit is. Simply a $10 bet at those odds profits you 1.6 times your money, or $16. Now, for a favorite bet paying minus 160 odds, you do the exact same thing with the decimal, but divide your wager to determine your profit. So in this case, that $10 bet divided by your 1.6 profits you only $6.25. I hope you're still following along, because now it's time for spreads. The purpose of a spread is to give two mismatched teams an even playing field. Betting spreads is most common in basketball and football, and for this example, we will use the latter. Let's take Super Bowl 55 for instance. The Kansas City Chiefs had a spread of minus 3, meaning they were 3-point favorites in the contest against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if you bet the Chiefs spread, they would have had to win by 4 or more points for your bet to hit. If you chose to bet the other side and took the Buccaneers plus 3 spread, they could lose by 2 or less points or win for your bet to hit. So teams with plus point spreads can lose the game, but you can still win your money. And we call that covering the spread. One of the most common sayings in the betting game is, good teams win, great teams cover. Now, in the chance that game was decided by 3 points exactly, you'd be in a scenario called a push, which is really just another word for a tie. Both sides would get their initial wager back, and neither profits. I know, how boring is that? And finally, let's cap things off with betting totals. You may not have a good feeling about either side of a given game, but you may expect a high or low scoring affair. Luckily for you, totals allow you to bet over or under a set amount of points in a game. Let's use NBA basketball as our example here. Almost every NBA game is set above 200 points. Teams who play sound defense or score at a lower pace tend to have totals in the low 200s, where teams that play poor defense or have high rate scoring get totals close to the mid 200s. Let's say for instance Milwaukee is playing Denver. Both teams rank top 5 in points per game on the season, so you can expect them to have a high game total. Let's say 245 points for argument's sake. If you think both teams will score enough points to top 245, you would bet the over on that number. But maybe you think the Bucks have played better defense recently, so they will slow down the Nuggets, and in that case, you would bet the under the 245. You may think to yourself, well, why would I want to root against points? And to that I answer what many have told me in the past, life's too short to bet the under. Now that you understand the simplest terms in the betting world, it's time to make your first play. Start with strong research. Don't just bet for the sake of betting. Wager only with what you're okay to lose, because no gamble is guaranteed. And to close, just have fun. Betting adds a whole new aspect to the sports world, and it's not something you should lose sleep over. Be responsible, stay safe, and enjoy.